Hi everyone, William with the Grand Duke Dmitri Diary series. We are in 1915 today. Our recap in 1935. Well, we had a sort of call for missionary work on Dmitri's part, sort of admonishing and also at the same time encouraging the Young Russia Party members whom he was visiting all across France to go out there and preach and recruit, in his own words. Bring more people into the party, don't be complacent, emphasizing that the party has a legitimate connection to the dynasty and that he himself is the connection to Kirill, who's given the whole thing his blessing. Mentioning the B word, by which I mean Bolshevik, that seems to be, reading between the lines, the main source of the hostility against Young Russia, this idea that they were crypto-Bolsheviks and Soviet fellow travelers. All right, so in 1915, we had Dmitri hanging out at the yacht club, basically, and also going to have dinner at his father's house. So now we're up to the 6th/the 19th of February, 1915 in Petrograd at Dmitri's Palace, Nevsky 41. And the weather's still pretty bad. It's -5 degrees and windy. So far he's not outside taking walks like his habit has always been. All right, I got up around 10 o'clock. In accordance with my old Petrograd custom, I had coffee in bed. Maria came too and sat on the bed beside me. When I got up, I sat down with her. We lunched à deux, after which I developed photographs with her. To our mutual sorrow, they did not come out. I messed something up when I inserted the coil into the tub. Around 4 o'clock, I went to the club and played tyotka with the old men, then played billiards. Around 6 o'clock, I dropped by to see Ducky. She was very sweet. She's terribly angry at Michen, says that she's phenomenally nasty to her, and is frightfully indignant that Michen grabbed a gold St. George medal for herself. Yes, it's true. That is disgusting. From Ducky's, I went to the club. Maria and I wanted to dine at the Yusupovs, but they're fasting and couldn't receive us. I dined at the club, then played billiards. It went better, but I still lost. I spent the evening there, then went straight home. I was at the Cathedral of the Annunciation this morning. It's the 6-month anniversary of the death of my comrades who were killed at Kaushin. There were lots of people. How quickly time flies. It's already been half a year. When will the war end? When indeed. All right. Yeah, so I'm not sure I think I said that Maria was not staying at Dmitri's palace, at the Sergei Palace, but maybe she was. I'm not sure. She's there early in the morning. Well, Dmitri talking about getting up, that's not early in the morning, that's 10 o'clock. I don't fault him for that because I tend to do that myself when I can. It would be nice if someone brought me coffee in bed. My sister could drop by and do that anytime. All right, all joking aside, what do we have here? Well, I think the yacht club was kind of the center of Dmitri's life when he was in Petrograd. Less so the Travelers Club in Paris when we catch up with him in 1920, 1921, but he's pretty much there every day. Unless something big is going on in Paris, he is at the Travelers Club, and in Petrograd, he is at the yacht club, and a big part of the reason is because he likes to gamble, and that was something that was offered at these clubs, and he quite famously ran up a huge debt at White's Club when a friend had said, "Oh, I'll stake you if you want to play a few games," at a time when he didn't really have any money. And so he went off and ended up losing 10,000 pounds, and the friend was sort of stuck with that bill. Anyway, at this time in 1915, he can afford it, even when he's not doing well, as with the billiards. And what makes me laugh is that, he's sitting around playing cards with the old man to begin with, maybe until somebody turned up who wanted to play billiards. But so Tyotka, this card game that he was playing with his sister and laming, he's sitting around with the old timers and playing it at the yacht club. You'd think he could find something more entertaining to do than that. But, I wonder how many young men men of his age were turning up at the yacht club. Probably not many. Some officers on leave and various people. I'm not saying none, but, that wasn't a good look, was it? To be Dmitri's age, to be 23 years old and hanging out at the yacht club playing cards with old men. Anyway, it is what it is. The next thing he does is go off and visit Ducky. That's at his own initiative. He says he drops by to see her. And yeah, she's just in a state, isn't she? She's really mad at her mother-in-law, Grand Duchess Maria Pavlovna the Elder, called Michen, sort of the German diminutive, I guess, of Maria, family name. And yeah, Ducky has all these complaints. She doesn't hesitate to tell Dmitri that she's furious at her mother-in-law, that her mother-in-law is nasty to her, and that her mother-in-law has gotten for herself this gold medal of St. George. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that, because I thought that the St. George was exclusively a military decoration, that, like the Victoria Cross in Britain, that you cannot get one unless you are military, and unless you are do something extraordinary in the midst of combat. And I guess what Michen had done was merely go to the front, and sort of, be there and observe, go to the front line, maybe where there was fighting going on. Who let her do that, I don't know. But, she was a fairly forceful person, I think. And then on that basis was given this St. George's medal. So is that different from a St. George's cross? Well, it must be, but it's gold. Dmitri's St. George's cross wasn't gold, and he did get his for being under fire. Yeah, so if he finds that disgusting, I can understand that. I don't know why it's any skin off Ducky's nose. But, I don't know if Ducky was a contentious person. She was certainly a person of strong-willed, strong personality, and ambitious, and seemingly competitive, even with her mother-in-law, so she's not happy about this situation. Yeah, and what is Dmitri doing, spending time with her, or going by to see her? I mean, they're not spending a lot of time. Are they friends? I know Dmitri liked Michen, and that when he was a younger man, that she was very kind to him. He talks about that in his letters to his sisters, to his sister around 1908, 1909, that when he's first arriving in St. Petersburg at that time, that Michen is very kind to him and sort of takes him under her wing. But, at any rate, Dmitri and Ducky seem to have been friends at this point, and that, as we know, would end up going in quite another direction. Okay, so are we talking about the old or the young Yusupovs? Maria and Dmitri want to go and have dinner at the Yusupovs. I mean, what did they sort of hint at it or suggest it? I don't know, but they find out that they can't, they do not receive the invitation that they were angling for because the Yusupovs are fasting. So why are they fasting? This is awfully early for it to be Lent. Really early, it seems like. Maybe they're fasting for some other reason, to fast and pray for the outcome of the war or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, if it's Lent, Dmitri and Maria are not at that point fasting. And Paul not either, since they were at his house for dinner. Okay, and Dmitri and Maria must have liked the middle-aged Yusupovs, because I gather this is them and not Felix and Irina, but who knows. All right, the two of them were just used to spending most of their time with middle-aged and elderly people. They were less used to being around people their own age. Okay, so, yeah, and then we have at the end sort of, tacked on, but not necessarily in a bad way. Maybe. Dmitri sits down at night to write his diary entry. He writes it, and then, at the very end, in the morning, I went to the Cathedral of the Annunciation because there was this memorial service marking the 6-month anniversary of the death of, seems like it was almost half the regiment. I'm barely being facetious with that. I think there was 50% casualties among the officers, not just among the men. And so Dmitri lost a lot of friends in that battle, a lot of people that he'd been, hanging out with in the mess and all that sort of thing for years. And now they're gone. And he was there and saw how horrible it was, and he's just not putting in any emotion into what he's telling us about that right now. Just, there was this memorial service. This all happened 6 months ago. Time flies by quickly, and when will the war be over? Very sort of distanced from the whole thing. And whether that was because he just couldn't allow himself to have vivid memories of it or to think much about it, or I don't know. But it is a pity, as I have said over and over again, that he hasn't started yet with his future habit, with his diary of writing at length, more in a more intimate and personal level, every 10 days, this, long, sometimes 20-page long supplementary entry where he really talks about things more on an emotional level and what he thinks about things, and he's just not doing that yet. And it may be that he wouldn't have done it anyway, because maybe he didn't feel like he could let himself go in this instance to that extent. Anyway, speculation. What do we have next time? Caution, by the way, was sort of one of the, so you've all heard of Tannenberg, the big battle between the German and Russian forces, and the Russian forces had been making real headway going into East Prussia, but then all of that turned around. I think it was August 19th. All of that turned around in the Battle of Tannenberg. I actually am not sure about that date. And there were all kinds of other battles going around, not just in Tannenberg itself, but along that whole front. And one of them was in this village called Caution, and that's where Dmitri's regiment, the Horse Guards, were. Okay, so next time, 1915, I barely even know how to start with that diary entry because there's so much going on in it. Just a few things that I can mention, that Dmitri and Maria will go to Tsarskaya and have lunch with Nicholas and Alexandra. And then that evening, Dmitri will be going to a party with, some very interesting people, musicians and other members of the imperial family. And so, interesting stuff. 1935, we'll have a short one with just a few words about Dmitri wants to tell the listeners about the 2 tasks of the Young Russia Party. And if that sounds dry, believe me, it is not. So I hope you'll come back for both of those. And I'll see you next time. Bye.